What is up, everyone? Welcome back to Together We Are Stronger, Leadership Straight, No Chaser. And the thing that we have to understand is if you are trying to achieve greatness, big things, it all starts with self belief. Because we've talked about it, you're centered to everything. And so if you don't believe in yourself, then why would anything come to fruition? Because you have to take the action. If you don't take the action, nothing happens. And so, George, when you think about that, you hear people talk about wanting to be great, wanting to do different things, but their actions speak differently. And so, why do you think a lot of people talk about wanting to be great, but then you look at their actions and their actions are ass backwards and don't match up?
It's a great point. I bring up greatness all the time. I truly believe God gives greatness to everybody. It's the ones who choose, no matter what's thrown at you, no matter what mountain you got to move, no matter what pebble you trip, boulder you move, everyone has greatness inside them. But it's the ones that overcome everything and become greatness because they know how to achieve it. They know what average individuals kick pebbles and they wait for things to happen. They
Mm,
don't make things happen. Greatness people who do it, put it together and move forward. It doesn't matter if you go down, you come up, you go down again, you can recover faster by that. And it's
mm,
crazy because I made a thing says every great moment, every legacy, every comeback story starts with a single thought. I can do this. The world will doubt you, but your self-belief is the foundation to everything, to your victory. And you can't have any outside noise. You have to have your tribe, what your tribe is all about. Doesn't
mm.
matter what the critics say, it doesn't matter whatever. You keep moving forward. And I think that's a lot of times people don't understand that.
Well, I think the interesting thing is really the self-talk, but it's also the people you surround yourself with, and like you highlighted, it's that tribe that we've constantly hit on. That's a major factor that you've got to consider. But it's very interesting how there are people in the community, and so here in Colorado, there are people that are spoken highly of. You need to go talk to this person, but then when you talk to the person and you highlighted an idea, they're like, "Oh, I just don't think that can be done." So it's like the craziness is how people play such a great game to fake out others. But
Okay.
I think it also comes down though that a lot of people aren't in tune with themselves. And so
No,
because they don't see that in themselves, they try to collect that from other people. And it's a very weird thing because I've highlighted, I don't think we've talked about this, but when you look at people that are in relationships, like the intimate relationships, a lot of times we have one person saying, "You need to love me," but that person that's saying, "You need to love me," they don't even love themselves. And then
no.
you have the other party that's saying the same thing of, "You need to love me, but I don't love myself." So it is one of those things that because you lack self belief, you buy into the fakeness that people can show
Yeah.
up and share, and then you actually hurt yourself in the long run because you start falling for everything. And so I think when you have that faith and that belief for yourself, you don't fall for everything and you can see past the facade that like people like to put up. But that goes back to you as an individual. That's something that you have to work on. And when we talk about the idea of greatness, it's that self belief because if you don't believe you can do it, why would anybody else buy into wanting to follow you? Why would anybody else buy into let me go and with you to try to achieve that bigger vision? And so it is one of those things that if you're getting mad and you're like, why is nobody listening? Why is nobody believing me? You might want to look at yourself and say, what is it about you that you're putting off that may be causing that situation for frustration because it goes back to you're centered to everything. And so you got to take a look at it and really do a deep dive and figure out what it is about you that you're putting out there that's throwing everything out of whack.
Greatness doesn't come from luck. It comes from, the ups and downs. And I'll use for me, for instance, the loss that we took. I mean, and then we recreated, then again, I hit a low and then back up again. And the one thing that what's crazy is you got to overcome your inner critics. And that's, sometimes that's yourself. And that's sometimes people out there yakking their lips, maybe I'm not good enough, you like, you give up on yourself. Well, guess what?
Hmm.
Your fear wins. No matter what's said about you, about me, whatever. I don't care. All I know is this. If I sit there and you sleep underneath a rock, that's where you're going to be. If you keep pushing and keep moving, that's when you start seeing your efforts. You start believing what you can do. Because
Hmm.
again, the people who are critics, the people that don't belong or don't believe in you, you keep moving forward. That's why the windshield's bigger than the rearview mirror. The farther you're gone, the less you're going to hear because they
Hmm.
got nothing else to say. But that's why you keep going. You take anybody that you hear their stories and they gone from nothing to something. I guarantee you they hit ups and downs until they made sure the confidence kicks in themselves that I can overcome anything that's thrown at me. And you got to do that. And
Yeah.
it's correct. It's a trip, a ripple effect to your belief does amazing internally in your brain and your heart. And they get you going every day because when you have that belief inside, no can kill it because
Hmm.
they know where you're going and they're sitting on the sidelines talking smack. It's okay. It doesn't matter. Because when it's over, you kept moving forward. You didn't give up on your dreams. And I think a lot of people miss that. And also
Hmm.
make sure you identify yourself as a true belief and keep the arrogance out of it. Be humble, right? Just be humble about it and keep moving forward.
Well, it's a very interesting thing because as we look at the build out of the YouTube channel, the podcast, it's one of those things of being a student, and so learning from Sean Cannell, who runs Think Media, and
Yeah.
it goes back to like we talked about being a student, and so taking the action, learning, but also putting forth action. And so Sean had talked about that you're only one ranked video away for your YouTube channel to really blow up and to do big things for you and whoever you're working with. But he also had highlighted that each time you're doing something, you're looking to get 1% better. And so it is one of those interesting things, and it goes back to the whole Amazon fiasco stuff of, hey, here you go, we'll get your stuff in 2 days. And then you see all the memes, people freaking out, oh, it's 2 days and like it's still not here. And it's the same thing with building out anything worth it.
Yeah.
Greatness is worth it because when you're at that level, your reach and your impact to do big things is a lot larger and you have a lot more capabilities than getting comfortable with just satisfaction. And so it is very interesting. There was a couple of days ago that I was kind of telling myself, I'm like, I'm grateful for everything, but I'm not yet satisfied. And
Yeah.
so the thing is you want to be grateful for what you have. So that way
Hmm.
your focus and your attention is one way, but
Yeah.
it's also not being satisfied. And it can be kind of like when I started thinking about that, I was like, oh, this is such a very interesting piece because, like, if you were to tell somebody, I'm grateful for what I have, but I'm not yet satisfied, does that sound as if it's an oxymoron potentially? And so it is one of those things that depending on who you talk to, you might get two different answers. One might know, I understand what you're saying, and then somebody be like, that's crazy that you're gonna say you're grateful, but then you're also not satisfied because I guess that could be that catch 22 of if you're grateful then would that mean you're satisfied? But when I look at it is once you start getting satisfied, you start letting up. And then you end up starts falling back. And that also leads into potential stagnation. And we've talked about with the idea of stagnation, you go look at water that gets stagnant, it is a cesspool of death. And so we as humans are meant to grow. We're meant to level up and go to that next level. But the thing you might run into is people that are like, that's really cocky, whatever it is. And then that could potentially tear you down
Yeah.
because if you haven't worked to enhance and strengthen your belief in yourself, you might fall victim to the negativity of somebody else because when they hear that, they might be like, "Oh, that's cockiness. That means that you're just not happy." All the craziness that you're like, "What the heck is going on here?" So it's a very interesting, very fine line that you can find yourself in, but that also goes back to having the clarity, knowing your values, the tribe that you have around you to overcome the trash mindset that a lot of people possess because there are a lot of people out there that possess a dumpster mindset instead of an abundance mindset.
It's man, there's so much to, number one is, you have clarity, can't listen to people outside. You got to work, within yourself, with your tribe, but also to have belief in yourself because, self-belief doesn't mean you never feel fear. It means you take action despite the fear, right? Just anything that you do. Courage isn't the absence of doubt. It moves forward while you're still unsure. And what that means is that it just keeps you moving forward no matter what. It's just like greatness begins in small moments when you choose to show up.
Mm,
And, you know, greatness is just not, it's given to you, but you got to put an effort. I mean, how many people we know or people out there, they could take over a family business. They don't, and they expect it because, well, I carry the name and I carry this.
mm,
And it's going to be 33 generations, and then it comes to you. If you don't show any effort or take action or do anything, it's going to be passed
mm,
because if that's given to you, it's going to stop with you because there's nothing there. You're waiting
yeah.
for things to happen. You're waiting. I'm not, there's nothing wrong being average. Don't get me wrong. But average people kick rocks because they're waiting for that moment. They're waiting for the door to open. And
Mm,
it doesn't. God gives you the opportunity, number one, to get up in the morning and put your feet on the ground. Makes you think, have an opinion. Doesn't matter, what if you're doing things and you make a mistake, there's forgiveness there. But also, it gives you a way to overcome certain things. And a lot of people miss that opportunity. I'm not sitting here and I came up with a verse and I want to see if I found it. It's in Psalms 13, verse 9. It says, you are fearfully, wonderfully made. That means that you're designed with intention. So when you believe in yourself, not being arrogant, you're agreeing with God's plan for your life. Faith builds identity, and identity fuels belief. And
mm,
I think people miss that opportunity. And you're right. Man, I'm getting going, I'm making money now, things are popping. And what's people do? They let off the gas and they do fall behind. They lose the momentum. And you always heard the term, keep the foot on the gas
mm,
because there's a time to sprint as the time to recover. And you always got to be sprinting to move forward. There's just time you have to recover. And I think that's anything that you do as an owner, as an entrepreneur, is that you have to look yourself in the mirror and making sure that you're handling your business the right way, you know? And again,
mhm,
people make mistakes and you got to own up to them. You got to work it out, figure it out, but you keep moving forward. because again, you're overcoming. That fear will kick in and it will stifle you. It will be like concrete bricks on your feet
Hmm.
and in your mind. Because I'm telling you, the mind between the ears can be can make you and break you.
Yeah. So right now, if you're finding value, hit that like button, thumbs up here, the like button, wherever it's at. If you're looking for more videos like this, hit the subscribe button. I would ask right now, what is the one small thing that you can do to help stack an action that would drive that self belief in yourself? It doesn't have to be major, it can be one small thing that you can do to start enhancing that self-belief that you have in yourself as
Yeah.
an individual. So it's a very interesting thing because you had highlighted the intention piece. And so it is a very funny thing that there's a lot of people that are running around, really don't have intention behind what they're doing. And
Mhm.
it's one that, when you think about it, intention kind of goes hand in hand with the clarity piece. Because when you have that clarity and you're able to filter things through, then that intention can be much stronger with intentional actions that you're taking place. So it is one of those wild things that there are things out in the open. There are sayings, there are quotes that are there in the open that we see plainly, but we overlook because we're not present. We're not in the moment. And we're also dealing with a thousand thoughts in our minds and trying to shuffle through and find those slots that we need to deal with. And so it is a very interesting thing when you highlighted that piece where you see a lot of people lack intentionality for whatever it is that they're trying to accomplish, they're trying to put out there. And so it's one that you can see it plain as day, people trying to ask questions. And it goes back to, what is your clarity? What is your filter? What is your intention for what you're trying to accomplish? Because the questions that you're asking will highlight what you're focused on. And people
Yeah.
don't want that. They're not in the moment. They're not paying attention. They're just go, 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 go. And I'm like, if you would just slow down and just look at what you're asking and what you're putting out there, you're already showing where you're at, that you need to adjust and pivot to
Mhm.
get to that next level, to open that door, whatever it is. And it's so funny just how people are not in the moment, they're not present, they're not aware. And then that bleeds into everything else that you do, because you need to have this skill set. Honestly, it is a skill set. It's something that you got to work on to really get deep with, but people don't want to do it. I don't know why. It's just a very interesting thing when I really look at that and
Yes.
see where I'm like, if you would just listen, you're asking yourself the question that you got to flip, and then you'll find what you're looking for. But that's where we get so busy. You need to have an accountability partner, have a coach, have somebody, the tribe that you're building, that you can ask and be open to receive what they're hearing and giving back to you to say, hey, you need to adjust this, so that way you can receive what you're looking for.
Well, then one thing when you were speaking, I was writing down stuff. And I think a lot of times people, when we talk about greatness, when your belief inspires others, confidence is contagious. It will give permission for others to rise. And yeah, a lot of times people don't realize, when you're around people and you have the belief and you're confident, not cocky, confident, people want to be around you and they want to rise. They want to know what you're doing. You help them because with true leaders, again, true leaders show and share their knowledge to help other people grow. Even when you're growing yourself, people who are looking for someone to say, hey, what are you doing? Because, man, when you come in the room, you're excited, you're confident, you're talking. But the one thing I notice is you're humble about it, and people will surround yourself with that. And that's what's crazy. I ask people all the time, what dreams are you holding back because of doubt? And honestly, ask your question. I wrote these down. How would you like to how would your life shift if you fully believed in yourself?
Mhm.
Seriously, doesn't matter if you want to own a hot dog stand. If you fully believe in that,
Mhm.
you'd be the best one in the neighborhood, right? Who would you rank? Who?
The interesting thing on that though, when you ask it, is the issue that a lot of people are dealing with is they have a lot of layers that have built up over time and they
Yeah,
haven't confronted it. And so it's a very interesting thing because I'll see coaches out here talking about, "Oh, I sat down and talked to somebody one session and we've extracted blocks." I'm like, "This is one that it is so much deeper." I've seen
yeah,
coaches that are like, we wanna increase your resiliency, and in 90 days, your resiliency is gonna be so much better, and I don't work with anybody over 90 days. I'm like, this is a crazy thing
yeah.
because there's coaches out there doing some craziness. And so it is one that it really
I
pisses me
know.
off. Like, I want to reach through the computer screen and slap people sometimes when I see posts like this.
Yeah,
I'm like, this is ridiculous because you're preying on people the wrong way.
yeah.
But it's the fact that people get excited, this and that. And so not really understanding how deep this goes. And so if you're a leader, there's a lot that you really have to overcome, work through to really do what you want to. But it's a
Yes.
matter of, are you going to face that and say, yes, these dreams I have, but I know there's things that I need to confront.
Lost you there.
And it is one of those fear factors or ego pieces that people are dealing with.
Well, it's and I have a thought here. And while you're talking again and writing stuff down, greatness isn't given, it's grown from the inside out, as we talked in this whole podcast. Believe first, act second, and the rest will follow. Action is always, always part. You got to believe in yourself, guys. And that's one thing that Scott and I truly believe in is that you got to build your tribe. You got to have clarity. You got to be around people who truly believe in you. It doesn't matter if it's one person, but you know what? You can conquer the world with one person. And
Mhm.
I'm just telling you, you have to dig in. You have to do personal development. You got to follow people who you love to have their lifestyle, not just the rich and famous, but the educational itself to teach others what you know. And it's huge. And Scott, it's one thing that I notice with when you're moving forward, your confidence starts to rise. It's crazy when you got an extra step, you're walking with a little swag because you're feeling great about things. And people ask, how's your day? Man, it is
Mhm.
awesome. Not faking about it. Because when you sit down with someone and you share that 30-second story of why you're doing what you're doing, people want to be around that,
Mhm.
and it's
Yeah, no, it's an interesting thing. But the other thing though is that self-worth piece. And so that is another
yeah,
craziness
that's a whole
that
thing.
a
Yeah.
lot of people struggle with. And so it's a, I don't know, it's crazy. It's it's
Oh, man,
more deep dive stuff.
little deeper dive. But the self-worth type of deal is that when people see who you are, you make mistakes and you're trying to better yourself, instead of uplifting, understanding, they put a thumb on you. And a lot
Mhm.
of times you get just beaten down from that, and I just been through it. And it's instead of saying, hey, man, I understand situations happen, I'm going to pray for you because I want the best out of us. But again, people love drama. People like talking smack, right? They love that negativity. And you have to, as an individual, you have to overcome that. And that's a
Mhm.
lot of work to do. But I'm telling you, at the end, it is worth it. You got to have belief in yourself because you can overcome anything that's thrown at you and God by your side. And that's really
Yeah.
what I have to say because we can have another conversation about that.
Yeah, no. The one thing is want to shout out those that are subscribing, following us on the
Yes.
channel, and really come along with us on the journey, allowing us to be part of the journey. Thank you for that. I know right now, I think we're at like 18 or something like that, but this
Yeah.
episode is going to be out in, I don't even, it'll be out in like 3 months for all we know because we're doing an episode a week, which is all good.
Yep.
But the item to really think about, because we've talked about it, is clarity piece. And so
Yes.
if you're struggling with clarity, go back to the first video, the first long form, because the first one was the intro to the show. But if you're really struggling with clarity, that was the first episode we really dove into, because we highlighted it, I think, last episode. Clarity is that foundation piece that you really need to drive down on. And that's one that really a lot of people struggle with. So right now, if you as a listener are listening and you're struggling with it, because we've hit on it multiple times tonight, go back, check out that episode. But like we say, if you're a true leader and you know somebody's struggling, share this with them, because the only way we do big things is by sharing knowledge. And if you're a true leader, the knowledge has to be shared, because that's the only way people grow. And then other than that, if you're enjoying what you're hearing, if this is your first time and you've really received value and these are videos that you're looking for, hit that subscribe button. Other than that, we'll catch you on the next episode. We appreciate you being on the journey and allowing us to be part of the journey with you.